Picture this. It's a brisk September morning in 2008 in West Yorkshire. The neighborhood is quiet, kids off to school, neighbors tending to their routines. And yet, beneath that calm, a storm is quietly gathering force. In a modest flat on the edge of town, Shannon Matthews is staring at overdue bills with worry etched on her face. Her boyfriend, Michael Donovan, a smooth-talking man with a flair for dramatics, paces nearby. Their 9-year-old daughter, Shannon Matthews, plays in the living room, unaware of the pressure mounting around her. Life may seem ordinary, but every family has secrets, and this one is about to break all the rules. For months, Karen and Michael have struggled with financial troubles. Late-night conversations over cups of weak tea reveal the desperate measures they're willing to take. Michael, ever the performer, sometimes cracks a half smirk as he promises that soon their fortunes will change. But deep down, both know that things aren't looking good. And then, in a twist that no one could have predicted, an idea begins to form. A plan born out of desperation and the lure of a quick financial fix. One day, everything seems to fall into place. Shannon leaves for school as she always does, her laughter echoing down the hallways of their flat. But that very morning, Shannon Matthews makes a phone call that will alter the course of events. Her voice, trembling with a mix of feigned despair and rehearsed sorrow, tells the authorities that her daughter is missing. The words come out smoothly, too smoothly, as if she's reciting lines from a script. Michael stands by, his eyes wide, his body language that of someone performing for an audience. There's an odd mix of raw emotion and calculated precision in their act. Within minutes, police cars flood the area. Officers, responding to the distress call, begin their routine, questioning neighbors, scanning the streets, checking CCTV footage from local shops. Flyers with Shannon's smiling face appear on lampposts, plastered across telephone boxes, and soon the entire community is buzzing with worry. The disappearance sends shockwaves far beyond the local neighborhood, and the media latches onto the story like a fly on honey. But as investigators dig deeper, things start to look less like a typical missing child case and more like a puzzle with too many loose pieces. Neighbors recall that on the night before the call, there was an odd calm around the Matthews flat. One person even mentioned seeing a car idling near the building at an unusual hour, a detail that doesn't quite match the frantic energy expected in a genuine abduction scenario. Phone records soon come under scrutiny. Instead of the chaotic, panicked calls one would expect from a mother in distress, Karen's logs reveal a series of calls that are methodically timed, almost businesslike in nature. It's as if every word was planned long before she picked up the phone. Meanwhile, the family's car tells its own story. GPS data from that day shows that shortly after the emergency call was made, Shannon Matthews drove from their flat to a small apartment in Leeds. It's not a long journey, but it's one that stands out, a deliberate, measured drive that contradicts the image of a mother in the throes of panic. The data suggests that this wasn't a random dash fueled by terror. It was a calculated move. And then there's the matter of Michael Donovan. His performance, though overtly emotional, carries an undercurrent of cool precision, a rehearsed routine that raises more questions than it answers. As investigators follow these digital breadcrumbs, the picture begins to shift. Surveillance footage from a local gas station shows a black van lingering near the Matthews block early that morning. At first, that van could easily be mistaken for the work of an unknown kidnapper. However, when vehicle registration details are cross-checked, the van is traced back to someone with close connections to the family. Elsewhere, a dark sedan is caught on camera cruising by, a car that, when tracked, points directly to Michael Donovan's sphere. Every piece of evidence starts to hint at a narrative that is less about a frantic abduction and more about a carefully orchestrated performance. Interviews with locals add even more color to the unfolding drama. One regular at a nearby pub recalls that Shannon Matthews, during the days following the reported disappearance, was seen out and about, not huddled in sorrow or overwhelmed by grief, but surprisingly composed, almost as if she expected everything to go according to plan. Other neighbors mention that Michael Donovan's public displays of emotion felt exaggerated, as if he were playing a part rather than reacting naturally to a tragedy. These small observations, when woven together with the digital evidence, create an unsettling picture. A plan that was set in motion with precision and intent. At one point, detectives pieced together the timeline with a series of digital and physical clues. Phone logs show that after the initial call, Karen's communications were not the desperate ramblings of a frantic parent, but a series of carefully scheduled interactions. The Matthews car logs further corroborate this, recording a short, deliberate trip from their flat to that small apartment in Leeds. And then comes the bombshell. Shannon Matthews, reported missing for 24 long days, is eventually found in that very apartment. Not in a dark, dangerous place, but in a safe, undisclosed location where she had been hidden away the entire time. The revelation sends shockwaves through the investigation. Remember to subscribe and like for mind-blowing stories like this. As the layers of deception peel back, the truth emerges with startling clarity. Every digital footprint, from the meticulously timed phone calls to the precise GPS records, points to a single, unnerving conclusion. The disappearance was not the result of an external abduction by a lurking predator. It was a carefully staged hoax, engineered by those who were supposed to be Shannon's protectors. The motive is as clear as day: mounting financial pressures and the irresistible allure of a cash reward for a missing child provided the perfect incentive for a calculated scam. Investigators then shift their focus to the masterminds behind the scheme. With every piece of evidence aligning, it becomes evident that Karen Matthews and Michael Donovan conspired to create a narrative of despair and urgency. They played their roles with such convincing precision that the initial shock and sympathy from the community quickly turned into deep suspicion as inconsistencies piled up. Digital logs, vehicle data, and eyewitness testimonies all converge to reveal the truth behind the ruse. The courtroom becomes the stage for the final act. Expert witnesses break down the digital evidence, explaining in plain terms how the phone logs and GPS data could only belong to someone who had orchestrated the entire sequence of events. Witnesses testify about the strangely composed demeanor of Karen Matthews and the almost rehearsed display of grief by Michael Donovan. Every detail, down to the exact timings on the Matthews car's GPS records, fits perfectly into the narrative of a planned fraud. In the end, the verdict is as inevitable as it is shocking. The jury, confronted with irrefutable evidence, finds both Karen Matthews and Michael Donovan guilty of conspiracy and fraud. The meticulously constructed hoax, designed to exploit the community's compassion and siphon off a reward, is laid bare for all to see. The fallout from the trial is immense, a cautionary tale that forces a re-examination of missing person protocols and the systems that inadvertently allowed such a deception to capture public sympathy. This case stands as a stark reminder that sometimes the most heartbreaking stories are not as they seem. Beneath the layers of tears and desperation, there can lie a cold, calculated plan, a reminder of how far people will go when desperation and greed collide. Enjoy the madness? Smash that subscribe button and join the crew. Thanks for watching. This is Talescape.